Tonight on NAIT NewsWatch.
Post-secondary student associations speculate what the upcoming tuition review can mean for students.
And they were supposed to report back last fall, and we still haven't heard what the new tuition model will be.
The Royal Alexandra Hospital creates history and is set to become the first North American hospital with a unique service.
We are going to fight to save every single life that we can. That, quite simply, is what great hospitals do.
Over 1,000 new jobs are listed as a new outlet mall is set to open in a few weeks.
I'm looking at stepping out of my electronics industry and stepping in a different wireless industry to clothing, jewelry, things like that. So it's a good opportunity to be here.
NewsWatch starts now.
Good evening. Welcome to NAIT NewsWatch. There's a possibility the tuition freeze in Alberta could soon be thawed out.
Yeah, the province is expected to release its review on the tuition in the next few weeks, and the unknown outcome has students and student associations speculating as to what it means for educational costs in the future. Our Daryl Stranger joins us live from the South Lobby with more on that story. Daryl?
Yeah, guys, student associations are not necessarily against the tuition freeze, but their big fear is what's to come as a result of it in the long-awaited release of the tuition review.
You can never expect with certain changes like this where or how much tuition may spike, so it's a little concerning for a student as myself.
Josh Bark is a first semester radio and television student at NAIT, who is one of many people who are looking forward to the tuition review release, something the NAIT Students Association is also looking forward to with a few worries. Jason Roth, the advocacy director for NAIT Students Association, works closely with students and says the uncertainty around tuition is a concern. The province announced last week the tuition freeze will remain for one more year, but it's what happens after that concerns Roth.
The risk, of course, is that when the freeze comes off, that they'll try to make up ground all at once. One fear is that they go through this 2-year analysis and then they just come back with what they had before, which was inflation.
Roth hopes the review includes set tuition increases for the next 15 years so students can plan for the future. It isn't just NAIT that is anxious about the upcoming tuition review. Here at the University of Alberta, the Students' Union is also voicing their concerns about what's to come.
So at this point, we've been pushing pretty hard to see the results of that review and to see something come out of the tuition freeze, which isn't just a continued, well, we're going to freeze tuition this year. We're looking for a long-term, predictable, and sustainable model.
Larson is looking for the province to also make tuition for international students more predictable, as he feels they are paying the price for the freeze, with the university facing a $14 million deficit.
So international students' tuition has been unregulated for a number of years, so it's often quite random. And it's often used as a measure to balance budgets at universities across the province. Here at the University of Alberta, we had a budget deficit of around 3.14%. Turns out international students' tuition went up around that exact number.
Now, along with increasing international tuition, the university also raised residence rates by about 4%, as well as meal plan rates, and non-instructional fees such as cost of entry and student union fees went up slightly.
Daryl, why is it taking so long for the province to come out with a tuition review?
Yeah, Tony, I talked to the Ministry of Advanced Education. They said they were just working out some of the finer details of the review, but after speaking with both student associations, they feel it's a political reason behind it as it's approaching an election year, and they feel it could be used as a campaign tool if they announce it at the right time.
How much can students expect to save in the final year of the freeze?
Well, Cass, the province says a university student taking a 4-year degree can expect to save about $1,500 over the course of their study because of the tuition freeze.
Thanks, Daryl.
That's Daryl Stranger reporting from the South Lobby. NAIT will be accepting fewer apprentices for this upcoming fall semester. NAIT says the demand from industry for training in the skilled trades continues to be down. As a result, the school is facing a reduction in the number of apprenticeship seats. The number of spots available is based on funding allocated by the provincial government.
And AIT is apprenticeship and industry training. And so they have a way of tracking how many apprentices are registered in the system, how many of them are going to need to attend a period of technical training, and then ask us to provide those number of seats to make sure that they have the availability for those apprentices to come to school.
NAIT's total number of apprenticeship seats for next year will be just over 10,000. That's down about 1,700 from this year. The program most impacted is the electrician program, followed by the welding program.
With the opening of the Airport Outlet Mall just a few weeks away, hundreds of jobs still need to be filled.
People from all over the Edmonton area eager to work at the Outlet Mall made their way down to the hiring fair on the weekend, hoping to land a job. Our Matthew Churchill has more on that and the economic impact it will have on the region.
Thanks, guys. As you can see behind me, the Airport Outlet Mall is still under construction. However, some retailers that will be going in the mall are already looking to hire for some positions for when the mall opens.
So I'm looking at stepping out of my electronics industry and stepping in a different wireless industry to clothing, jewelry, things like that. So it's a good opportunity to be here.
Davis Sunu is a young professional looking to change up his career. He was one of the hundreds of people who made their way to this hotel banquet room filled with more than 60 retailers who set up shop at the job fair. Some companies hiring job seekers right on the spot. From full-time supervisor jobs to plenty of part-time positions, over 1,000 jobs are up for grabs. Mall management says those who land a job will serve a variety of customers.
Airport traffic and tourism is a very important component for us. That being said, we don't anticipate it's going to be the majority of our traffic. We do think the surrounding areas, Leduc, Nisku, and the south side of Edmonton are going to be our primary demographic.
Grant Bain, Director of Planning and Development in Leduc County, welcomes the growth. He thinks the mall will make the Edmonton International Airport an airport of choice, which will benefit the county of Leduc.
The overall economic output in 2017 from that airport was around $3.2 billion. We anticipate that's going to be around $4 billion by the end of 2018. So these are not small numbers. This is big impact. It's significant. It's positive for the region, and we need to do what we can to support it through the park.
The mall is set to be open up in May, which is why retailers are already looking to hire. On another note, the mall is one of the first places in the area to be developed. However, in the coming years, we can expect a Costco, an Aurora cannabis facility, and a racetrack casino.
Reporting from the Airport Outlet Mall.
You're watching NAIT NewsWatch.
Edmonton will soon be home to the first hospitals-based safe consumption site in North America.
We are going to fight to save every single life that we can. That, quite simply, is what great hospitals do.
The 24/7 service will open on Monday and will provide patients at the Royal Alexandra Hospital care and supervision from its staff. The hospital will also provide greater access to treatment and mental health support options.
For people and families who are facing life-threatening struggles with substance use, for individuals who have felt ashamed or stigmatized and afraid to reach out for help, we want you to know that we have your back.
Tuesday's announcement comes after the city opened its first safe consumption site last Friday. Boyle Street Community Services had 91 unique visitors in its first 6 days of operation, and they've also saved 2 individuals from overdosing.
The Alberta government is investing $30 million in a new park and ride facility in St. Albert. With its doors set to open in 2019, the new facility is part of Alberta's $1.5 billion investment in public transit over the next 5 years. The transit center will be located at Campbell Road and Anthony Henday Drive, with hopes to make it an easier commute for people.
Commuters will have improved access to jobs, healthcare, education, recreation, and shopping. Any great city has to have great public transit. It's better for the environment, it's more efficient, and it's a boost for the local economy.
The St. Albert Transit Center will include 800 parking stalls and will eventually be a terminal for the Metro LRT line. Construction is set to begin in May.
Approximately 100 people rallied at the Alberta legislature on Saturday in solidarity with the March for Lives protest happening in the United States. The march was one of 800 held worldwide to protest against gun violence. The movement was started by students in the United States after a deadly shooting in a Florida high school last month. The march in Edmonton was organized by Abby Axelson, who believes it's important people use their voice to create necessary change.
Just that we're with you, we back you 100%. That's why we're doing this. We're not alone. This isn't something you have to do alone. You know, maybe you don't have the support of, you know, the adults and the big kids and the politicians, but you have us and we're all with you.
The event, however, was interrupted for a short time when a couple of people carrying pro-gun signs showed up, and there was a verbal exchange between the two groups.
A scam-savvy student is going public with her story of saving her family business. As a part of Fraud Prevention Month, Shannon Baxter shared her story. She was a part-time NAIT student and worked full-time at her family business, Yellowhead Storage. One day, going through invoices, Baxter came across an unfamiliar company and called asking for verification. Turns out it was a phishing scam, a type of scam that uses invoices that appears to come from legitimate enterprises to get private information. Surprisingly, her own mother was behind one.
More angry than anything. My mother was never someone I would have expected to do something like that. She was always very kind and generous. And I don't know, it's just something changed, I guess.
Baxter's mother was sentenced to 15 months in jail after admitting to profiting around $153,000 from the fraud scheme.
Hundreds of animals have new homes after a successful Clear the Shelter event at the Edmonton Humane Society. The shelter was filled with people this past weekend looking to adopt. Over 500 animals were available for adoption, including many seized from a local pet store at the West Edmonton Mall in late February.
Yeah, it's actually a wonderful event. We had a great community response from it, and it really shows how the Edmonton and surrounding area really supports our goal of advancing animal welfare and taking care of those animals. They've really given all the animals that we do have in our care our second chance at finding a home.
Adoptable animals included cats, dogs, different reptiles, and even hundreds of fish.
Calling all gardeners, the city is set to launch a new project to give Edmonton gardeners a fresh opportunity. Discussed in a meeting on Tuesday, the vacant lots cultivation pilot project will test a license to allow Edmontonians to garden on city land. The temporary project is a 7-month gardening experiment and will begin on Sunday.
We hear of a lot of people wanting to garden, whether it's to beautify public space or to grow food for themselves. We'll be doing a lot of evaluation, so we'll be working closely with our group of pilot participants, and we will be doing some discussions with them. We'll also be surveying the general public.
For a full map of vacant lots and to apply, visit edmonton.ca/urban agriculture license.
And coming up after the break, some furry friends make a visit to NAIT's campus.
Cute and cuddly animals come to help ease students' stress.
Well, I have a midterm at noon, so I'm pretty excited about this.
This week in sports, NAIT heads down to Leduc for the CCAA finals, and I learn how to ride a broom. All that and more coming up.
Some cold weather has creeped up on us, but is it here to stay? I've got your weekend forecast coming up after the break.
All of the latest conversations, showtimes, news, right at your fingertips.
Follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest information.
Tony, I thought spring was finally here. What's going on?
I wish I could tell you, but it seems like whatever we do, we just can't escape the winter blues. Maybe Brendan has some good news in this week's weather report. Brendan?
Well, the weekend's here, you guys. I hope everyone has a good long weekend. And though it's looking pretty dry, it is also going to be very cold. Starting in Calgary, we got a high of -6 and a low of -12. It's going to be mostly sunny, though, so that's fine. In Jasper, it's going to be partly cloudy with a morning low of -13 and a high of +2. They will be expecting a chance of snow, but not until Sunday. Fort McMurray, it's going to be mainly sunny, but pretty cold with a low of -20 and a high of -8. And that's then warming up, you guys. Over in the capital region, we have, it's going to be mainly sunny. We have a morning low of -15 and a high of -4. We're about 10 degrees colder than the average, which looks to be a high of 8 and a low of -2. That's nothing on the records, which in 1901 was a high of +21 and a low in 1936 of -23. It's pretty crazy stuff. I hope everyone has a nice, warm, long weekend. Back to you guys.
NewsWatch Weather is brought to you by NR92, the station for the students.
With exam season approaching, NAIT is finding a unique way to help alleviate some stress during crunch time.
NAIT Student Counseling is welcoming some furry friends to our campus. Our Odell Nelson has more.
With the end of the semester sneaking up on students, they are preparing themselves for finals, assignments, and major exams. However, finding a petting zoo in the middle of campus isn't something most students expect to see coming out of class. The Easter Bunny came early this year, but dropped off some more lively little presents rather than colorful eggs.
I love that there's bunnies. I was very excited. I saw it on my NAIT portal a couple weeks ago, and I put it in my calendar because I didn't want to forget that I wanted to pet rabbits.
Well, I have a midterm at noon, so I'm pretty excited about this. I love guinea pigs, so.
The release of a nationwide survey shows us that 39% of post-secondary students say stress is affecting their work performance, and 54% say they felt things were hopeless at some point. Petting animals helps to lower down special hormones, Linda Shaw tells us.
Research has shown that when you're petting or interacting with an animal or really doing something you enjoy, and that includes animals, your body releases hormones that allow you to, they're like feel-good hormones. And that improves your mood and also affects your blood pressure and your heart rate in a positive way.
The petting zoo gave everyone some much-needed reassurance, and the positive reactions of most students are a good sign that it has quite given them a big leap in their spirit.
This is the first of its kind, but NAIT's plans on bringing more like this on April 17th in the North Lobby. For NAIT NewsWatch, I'm Odell Nelson, and this is Hawks.
Hockey season might be over, but I hear that there's a golden bear making some noise on the football field.
I also heard soccer might be on its way back to YEG, but how cool is that? A football player in Edmonton getting an NFL Pro Day. Steve, what do you got for us in sports?
I've got all that and more, as it's always a busy week for sports. But let's take a quick look at how NAIT did at the Canadian College Curling Championships. It was a tense back-and-forth game against the Red Deer College Queens on Monday, as the Queens took points in the third and fourth. But NAIT caught up right away. In the seventh end, the Queens cleared house by knocking out the Ooks triple, but NAIT would finish the end, tying the game 5-5. In the 10th, Coach Ocher called for a timeout, trying to figure out a way to break the Queens' guard. But the last hammer wasn't enough for NAIT, as Red Deer picks up their third win against their ACAC rival.
It was a tough one. Us and Red Deer were always pretty close, so they came out on the other end this time.
The women's team would make a comeback and take bronze against the McEwen Griffins, and the men's team would do the same against the Augustana Vikings on Wednesday. An offensive lineman for the U of A Golden Bears is getting his very own NFL Pro Day.
You know, any kid, whether they grow up playing football, playing hockey, they want to play professional sports. So being right on the doorstep knocking has been a blast to realize that I'm that close.
Just days after Mark's CFL week in Winnipeg, Mark Cordy, son of former Edmonton Eskimo defense end Brent Cordy, ran through a number of drills on the field to impress scouts from the Washington Redskins and the Edmonton Eskimos.
His athleticism is what impresses everybody. So all the tests he did today where he's in the top 5 of all the guys down there at the combine, those are impressive numbers.
Cordy and his offensive line led the University of Alberta to have the best offense in the league with 518 yards per game. Hundreds of boxers have made their way to Edmonton to battle for the national title. Boxers from across Canada are competing in the 2018 Super Channel Championships. All age and weight groups will face off in the ring.
We have 250 athletes registered.
So we'll start Wednesday, which is today, and we'll run till Sunday. And we'll finish our finals Sunday afternoon.
With 2 rings in the facility, there'll be an average of 40 bouts a day. So if you're a boxing fan or want to catch some boxing action, you can still buy tickets at the door. Canada is getting its own soccer league next year, and FC Edmonton might make a comeback. Edmonton's soccer team closed its doors in November, but the Canadian Premier League knows that there is players and fans in the province. They're looking at possibly reopening FC Edmonton in the future. The Alberta Soccer Association hopes this revival will kick off a new battle of Alberta.
So I think we'll end up with two teams in the league from Alberta, one based out of Calgary, one out of Edmonton. I think we produce enough players in this province to warrant 2 teams.
So far, Hamilton and Winnipeg have been chosen as 2 of the 6 teams for the 2019 season. And for this week's End Zone Challenge, I asked some wizards and witches to show me the sport from Harry Potter. I hopped on a broom to play some Quidditch.
We're going to show Steven here today how to play some Quidditch.
There's one main rule to Quidditch. Always stay on your broom. If you're knocked off, you need to go touch your hoops. Then there's the positions.
7 players in a Quidditch game. You got 4 players who can handle the quaffle. So on each team, they have 1 keeper. They're kind of like a goalie. 3 of those players are going to wear white headbands. Those are chasers.
Their offense. They can score. Next is the beater.
Now beaters, they wear black headbands, and there's 2 beaters on each team.
They knock you off your broom. And I learned that they earned that name.
You gotten hit by a lot of balls today? Like a lot.
You get beat up. Finally, there's the infamous Seeker, the same position that Harry had in the series. They catch the snitch and end the game. With the positions explained, I was thrown into some practice.
It's like a really complicated dodgeball.
Then it was on to a main game. I might have immediately forgotten the main rule, which then earned me some push-ups. I would definitely say that being a beater was more fun, even if I didn't have the arm for it.
If there's anything I've learned is that red team wins, but blue team's cooler.
It's a team sport I'd highly recommend, so if you're looking to play...
We practice here at the U of A. We practice most Wednesdays at 5 o'clock.
Admittedly, I don't know a lot about Harry Potter, so how does the snitch work, especially in that gym?
So there's one neutral player who's not assigned to either team. They wear yellow shorts with a little ball on the back that's zipped on, and both seekers go out and get it. Whoever gets it actually gets 30 points for their team.
Fascinating.
That's really neat. Do you know what house you're a part of?
I actually took the quiz online, and I actually turned out to be a Slytherin.
A Slytherin? Well, you were Slytherin like a snake in this week's End Zone Challenge. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Thanks.
Coming up after the break, Cassandra and I put together some sandwiches for a good cause.
We help feed the hungry at Boyle Street Community Services.
And to the community, I think it's hopefully a place of hope where they can come and be with their friends.
In entertainment, NAIT celebrates its diversity with a global village. That and more coming up.
Students, NR92's Facebook page has got you covered.
NR92's Facebook page keeps you up to date with events going on around campus. Check out NR92's Facebook page to stay informed.
NewsWatch clothing provided by Action Air Mold and Asbestos.
NewsWatch music provided by Martin Mayer Productions.
Boyle Street Community Services sees about 400 people come through its doors each and every day.
That's right. So this week, Tony and I made our way down to the service center to lend a helping hand.
It's sobering and it's kind of amazing. So
meet Alex McKee, the food services coordinator at Boyle Street. Cassandra and I joined his team of volunteers and prepared some bologna sandwiches for a hearty lunch.
Tony and I made over 100 sandwiches for those in need, and while Alex was cooking up some spaghetti, we were happy to help make a difference.
what does it mean to me? It's been a life-changing experience and it's a great job. And to the community, I think it's hopefully a place of hope where they can come and be with their friends and get fed and access some services that might help them with whatever they're struggling with.
Even buttering up some garlic bread can help make a difference in someone's life. If you want to volunteer at Boyle Street Community Services, visit boylestreet.org/ways to give.
What an awesome trip it was. But speaking of awesome, there's a movie coming out in theaters that looks just that.
Horror movies are my favorite, but I'm wondering what this new one is about. Our Isabel Lumsden has the inside scoop in this week's entertainment.
Yes, guys, I do have a horror thriller movie for you, but before we get into that, a first production of its kind is coming to the Northern Alberta Jubilee Auditorium in April. Ancestors and Elders is a production that infuses the work from both Shumka and the Running Thunder dancers. This production shares the stories of the first Ukrainian settlers in Canada, as well as the First Nations people they encountered.
We're going to be part of history, but also kind of setting the standards, setting the bar on how two cultures can work together cohesively for the betterment of the community.
They hope the production will spark a conversation in this time of reconciliation. NAIT is celebrating its diverse campus by showcasing countries from around the world. NAIT hosted its third annual Global Village, an event that gave students the opportunity to experience different cultures and food from various countries. The village had several booths and performances, each representing a different corner of the world.
This is an opportunity to get a little exposure to that area of the world, ask some questions if you're interested. We do offer study abroad options from the International Center as well, so it's a way to learn about that country, explore maybe studying there a semester.
Some of the performances included martial arts, African dance, and musicians. The Alberta Aviation Museum was home to something other than airplanes on Sunday. The Aviation Museum housed Edmonton's pop culture fair. It gave local artists and small businesses a chance to sell anything from art to comic books and even coasters. It also gave collectors a chance to showcase their collections to younger generations.
It's really nice to see parents bringing their kids, exposing them to things that when they were kids, showing them the toys that they played with. It's a great opportunity for parents to show their kids kind of a part of their own childhood.
Every kid who went to the fair got a free comic book as a keepsake. Silence is suggested when you watch any movie, but it's mandatory for this new horror thriller. A Quiet Place is Paramount Pictures' newest horror thriller film starring John Krasinski and Emily Blunt. Coining the phrase, "If they hear you, they hunt you," the movie follows a family of 4 who must live in silence to protect themselves from mysterious creatures that hunt by sound.
Who are we if we can't protect them? We have to protect them.
You can watch A Quiet Place in theaters on April 6th. We also have a special prize pack to give away. The first person to tweet us at NAIT NewsWatch what character John Krasinski played on the television show The Office will win a Quiet Place prize pack as well as a pair of tickets to the advanced screening of the movie on April 4th. That's all I have for you in entertainment. I hope everyone has a happy Easter weekend.
Love it. That's been your look at NAIT NewsWatch.
I hope you have a great weekend and thank you for joining us.